Is there a microphone that's on? Is there a live mic I can get? There we go, thanks. Yeah, I should really explain this a little bit more. I had about, a couple hours of raw footage on this. This was a tour, a Beach Boy tour in 1974. And I had written this song when Dennis had passed away, and it had taken me 20 years to finish it. I just could not finish it, and recently I did. And so it was coincidental. I finished writing the song, and then I discovered this footage and saw it, and I thought, I'm going to cut a film to this song. And so there are about, I think, 24 different shots in there. Let me think if I can remember the sequence. The opening shot is on we had a private plane, which you saw in the shots there. It's called a Fairchild. It's a little turbojet. And then we cut to, we're walking through an airport, and then there's a cut to a group photo session. As you can see, at the time it was Carl, Dennis, Mike, Al, Ricky Vittar was what was considered the Beach Boys at the time, and the band was myself, Eddie Carter, Carlin Munoz, Bobby Figueroa. That was the band. And there's that scene where Dennis is in the car going, come on. He is revving that rent-a-car's engine to beat the band, and you can see Carl won't even get in the car. It's really funny. You can see Carl backing away because Dennis is just revving that engine up, and it is so funny. And there are other people in the shots making cameo appearances. Jason Raffalian and Steve Moffat, who's the engineer for a lot of the Beach Boys albums, and Rick Nelson was sort of in the background, who was a road manager, and there's that scene where Dennis was great at playing to the camera. Some people you turn the camera on them and they shy away, but Dennis was, because it was me behind the camera, it wasn't like a paparazzi person filming it. He knew what we were doing. These were all projects for my school. The professors at UCLA allowed me to incorporate my projects, documentaries, into touring. And I said, well, I'd like to do a film on the Beach Boy, documentary, film, get it? Oh, okay, sure, and so off I went. And so now I've got all this incredible footage that I'm so happy to share with you guys. I can't think of a better place to do it. There's this one scene, and it was so ironic because the words, to the song, I didn't remember what I had on film, and then when I edited it, it was kind of weird, really, like certain lyrics, like that shot where, if you were lucky enough to meet this man, I just want to say I want to shake your hand, and I just happen to have a shot of Dennis shaking hands with Carlin Munoz. That was a mock backgammon game, which is so funny. Maybe next year or some other time I'll edit that, and it's a very, very funny piece, Carly and Dennis. But if you look, you can see Carl shadow off to the right side of the screen clapping, because when Dennis walks in, he's wearing my kimono. We did a lot of this stuff in hotel rooms on the road, just because we were bored, we would make movies and, goof around. But anyway, I can't remember all the shots. I'm tired, I've been flying. It's just really, I've been up since 1 in the morning, your guys' time. So I'd just like you to see it again, knowing that there's a lot of other, what's a little bit of the background. So if we could just check it out again. Cool.
Steve. Thank you.
To Dennis. When I first met Dennis, he was the wildest man I've ever seen. My memories too, he still is. He had no fear. We were on a trip with the Beach Boys, our first tour with the Beach Boys, going to Vancouver. A couple of people here tonight saw us there at that particular show, and the airline strike was going on. So we had to rent a plane, or at least two of them. So we rented a plane, flew out of Seattle. It was Gercio, Chad and Jeremy, Dennis and Carl, and Brian, the other guys, flew another little jet somewhere. They didn't want to be with us. I don't know what the situation was, Mike or anything. Then we hooked up later on all together. So as we're ready to land in Vancouver, Dennis goes, and we're pretty wiped out on wild turkey. That's what you drink on the airline. And these things were just clearing the Canadian Rockies. You could almost put your hand out and touch the mountains. So Dennis says, can I land the plane? And I go, Dennis, do you know how to fly? He says, no, I'm flying out. I'll never forget that line. I'm flying out, be able to land the plane. So Marty and I got up, Carl got up, we walked into the cockpit, he sat down, the co-pilot sat behind him, and he got on the steering wheel. I think it was an Aero Commander. Yeah, it was an Aero Commander. Scared the hell out of him. And they had green windows. And if you had to go to the bathroom, they had a relief tube. And for all you women, that's a tough one. It's tough for the guy. So we're coming into Vancouver. I'll never forget this. And I just told this to Dave Marks, and we were landing. And he's bouncing on the freeway like a baseball bat. Well, Marty and I all fell down, just in the aisleway, you know. We were laughing. We didn't think this was going anywhere. We just wanted to get to the show, to the next show. And so the co-pilot was right behind him. You're doing fine, Dennis. You're doing fine. He says, doing fine. What's doing good? This is really scary. You know, the guy's sitting there, you know. So when we got out, I wish I had a video because we all kissed the ground. So when I saw that video, I remember, we didn't do this, we all, including Dennis. And I thank you, Dennis, for getting me to and back. He asked, I said, if you're going to do this again, I can't fly. I'm just going to get out of this thing because it was scary, you know. But he did a good job. He's a very mechanical type of person, even with a little alcohol in him. He did quite well. Happy birthday, Dennis. By the way, I have CDs for $5 a piece. I'm hawking because I bought everybody drinks here tonight. Free pictures to anybody that wants a free Sunray picture. And it was so nice to see Billy Hinsche and Dave Marks and some of the other friends, the Wilsons and Ginger, people I haven't seen for a long time. And by the way, I loved your song.
Yeah.
It gave me a little bit of hair, a little chicken fat, and when that does that, was that you singing?
Yes, sir.
Wow, he's good. No, seriously, that's pretty good. It got you to be able to do a song all by yourself and write a song from your heart about something. And what I'm doing, so you'll know what the Sunrays, I want to put a Sunray Christmas record out. Because Murray wanted that. Murray said, you guys should, because when Dennis came, the picture on my website has a picture of me in a suit. I look like a mannequin. And Dennis is right next to me in a nice wool thing with a nice polo shirt on. It was at the Whittier house. He said to dress up. So, you know, it was awful. I still had the Glen Campbell and he had the Beatle look. I still have the Glen Campbell, but anyways. Bottom line was, Murray said our next record should be a Christmas record. So I have been, for the last 4 years, writing a Christmas record. I need another 6 songs. 6 songs to finish this. So David, you, Billy, I want to put a Sunray Christmas song out. I'm very serious. Doesn't have to be the guys. It could be Eddie, Medora, Billy, blah, 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 like you're doing with Don and doing this thing I'm selling here, because music never gets out of your soul. Anybody that took piano lessons, anybody that teaches, anybody that sings, yes, you have your regular job to pay the rent. And if you can make a living, God bless the Beach Boys. God bless all 3 of them, with all the groups that are of the Beach Boys. And you guys still playing and gigging. I was in a band for 5 years just recently called Second Childhood, which we were going through, Second Childhood. And I was playing in these beer bars, making $80 a piece as therapy. And we sounded great. We could do Letterman, Seasons, Beach Boys, Led Zeppelin, we could do anything. Then I was on a cruise with my wife, and I said, I'm going backwards. Can't do this. There's no groupies, right? There's no ladies asking for autographs, right? You get your beer once in a while. One guy at a bar in Santa Monica says, I'll pay you $25 if you do In My Room. And we knew it. He knew it. You know, we just had a goose the lead singer to get up high like Brian and work on it. And he gave us $60. We said, why did you want to play this when we took our break? This was like 4 years ago. He said, I made love. I was a virgin when that thing came on. And I made love when that song was playing. And I said, here's your money back. He says, no, I insist. So I bought the whole bar, which was not many people there, because how impressive that was, drinks. So anyways, that's my story. Dennis, I love you. I have more stories. And I love the video. I love your song. And thank you for inviting me, David, John, Betty, and Susan. Love you. Happy holidays.
Thanks, Eddie.
Let's get Daryl to come up here and say something too.
Okay, this is one of my favorite Dennis stories. I wish it was about Barbara because I just adore Barbara, but it's about Karen. And my girlfriend Sherry Champion and I, we went to Karen and Dennis's house at the beach. And Dennis had just come in, or we were talking to Karen in the room, and Dennis comes in and he's just wrapped in a towel. And Karen, he's talking and he's trying to get all of our attention. He's going, "It's God's word. It's God's word." And Karen, she looks and she takes the towel and she pulls it. And she goes, "That's God's word."
Diane.
Thank you. I know I'm Santa's helper today. Just anybody that wants to leave me a list. Anyway, I don't know how fun. I think it's a funny story. And Ginger and Marilyn will laugh because, of course, it's about me and they love me talking about me. But no, it's actually about Dennis. Dennis was, as we all know, really, really generous. And this is a little emotional for me right now because not only did I get to grow up with Brian, you know, as my brother-in-law, and I got to grow up having, I feel, Dennis and Carl kind of as brothers to me. So this is really a really meaningful thing. And Barbara, you know how much Barbara's like one of my sisters also, so how much I love you. Anyway, the story is, it's a cutie. Dennis used to hang out, as all the guys did, over at my mom's house a lot. And he had just gotten in, I hope it's right, because my brother-in-law Daniel just told me, because my dates are, I think it was anybody know the 64, the Blue Stingray? Is that 64? 64? Okay, yeah, and anyway, he used to come over to my mom's, and of course he raced down my mother's street all the time and everything, and he got this 4-speed Stingray. And the guys, I can't remember where they were going, anyway, they were doing one of their tours. And he came over to my mom's house, or he had slept at my mom's house in the morning and said, "Diane, you know, you're going to have to take me to the airport." And I went, "Oh, okay, fine." Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we get in the car and, you know, we're late and we just barely make it to the airfield. And he goes, "Okay, take the car home." I had never in my life driven a 4-speed stick. So here he gives me this brand new car. It probably took me about 2 or 3 hours to get home from Lance. But he was really generous. I made it, and that's how I learned how to drive a 4-speed. And I was a demon after that. But it was a great thing. And I just, Dennis, I love you, miss you, and think about you all the time. And you'll always be one of my brothers. Thank you.
All right, here's the co-author of Little Bird, Steve Kalinich.
I'd like to tell a story. It's not a funny story, but it's how Dennis and I operated. It's another side of Dennis, the soul side, the feeling side, the side that was able to write all these creative, beautiful melodies that touch all of us. And I love all of Dennis's family and the kids. We used to hang out all the time, just running around Santa Monica. Brian, Dennis, and I would walk on the beach and on the pier. And one thing that we used to do, and I sure miss it, at Santa Monica City College, there's an open-air theater. And Dennis and I would go alone, and Dennis would direct me. I was doing these poems and recitations, and my hair was down to my ass, and I had these little granny glasses before John Lennon. And in fact, we couldn't get into too many places between Dennis and I. And he used to direct me, and he'd say, "Do this," and before you know it, I'd be reciting things, and before you know it, there'd be all kinds of people hanging around at Santa Monica City College. I noticed since those days, they blocked that open-air theater off. I don't know if it has anything to do with it, but what I'd like to do is a short version of one of the Galactic Symphonies I did. And the interesting thing is that Dennis could hear the poem, and at the end, he would recite a section word for word and have a melody for it. And I don't think I've seen anyone be able to do that. And that kind of memory, which people don't talk about with him, but he really had it. And this is called A Tale of Man, Symphony 1, and I'm dedicating to Dennis. Never before in galactic span has been told the tale of man, defies all bound, defies all space, upsets all theories, and in their place puts wisdom of the ancient race. Stories of creation thrown, of man who left his home from stars among the universe, and found the earth alone, void of purpose, without form, cold, barren, uniform. No room to differentiate choice from predetermined fate and save the world before it is too late. For mankind, since time has opened up its book for solution to terrorism, savagery, and problems looks. And each age has the answer, and each age the road will pave, and all our undaunted saviors lead us to that same grave. So where can we find salvation? Can we discern from the movement of the tree within the quake, the presence or the power through which earthly things take shape? Can we know from the pull of the planet and the stars the life we know as ours? Did man in his greatest age, through every prophet and every sage, ever calm the unstoppable rage, the ruthless destruction, the war, the hate, the cheating and the lies? Did anyone stop the horror through the earthly wise? Did anyone you know of teach the roses how to grow? Show the harmony to maple leaves, teach the river's rhythmic flow? Or have you heard of any man of earthly fame claim to be the creator of his father's or his own name? Surely none can answer to the questions that we ask. Surely no mortal is equal to the task. Only something within, yet far beyond anything we see, could create beauty to make things beautiful, create music for man to write a symphony. The principle of music comes before music. The principle of art comes before art. The laws and harmonies are existent, yet man must hear them in his heart. For all our worldly knowledge, all libraries and all brains cannot in one instant heal all the world's pains. Love alone can heal. Love alone can mend. Love alone can bind. Love alone gives life meaning. Love alone gives life anticipation of a greater time. I love you, Dennis. Thanks.
Oh my God. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Whoa. Yeah.
That's magic. That's magic. The only man to have written songs with Brian, Carl, and Dennis Wilson that wasn't in the Beach Boys, Steve Kalinich. Can we get Dave Marks to come up and say hi?
Hi, Dave.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Dave.
Thanks, John and Jay and everybody for being here. It's really nice. I was just in Kennedy Airport yesterday in the snow, and now we're at the beach, and the sun is shining.
Yeah.
And I'm too tall for this microphone. But I was noticing, I think, yesterday we were driving in the car, and I looked at my hand, and I saw the scar. I remembered when I was about 7, and Dennis was about 10 or 11, I guess. And he came over to the house and said, "We're going to be blood brothers now." And he cuts my hand with a knife. I tried to jerk it out of the way, and he got me right here, and there's a big scar there. And so I have Dennis's blood running through my veins. But it seems like he always was rescuing me from something or another. I was walking home from school one day, and I was surrounded by football players, and they were going to cut my hair because they didn't like surfers, which I wasn't really a surfer. I just had surfer hair. And they didn't care for the Beach Boys much because we were exploiting their sacred sport, right? But they learned to love us shortly after that. And so Dennis comes, it was the Blue Stingray. He pulls in, and it was the pizza place, and he rescued me from that situation. And he just kept doing it. I was walking down Hollywood Boulevard in my bare feet with an expensive suit on sometime in the 60s, I think 69 or 68. And I was feeling pretty bad, and Dennis pulls up in his, he had just bought Ringo's Rolls Royce, I think, and he pulls up. And I was really glad to see him, and he took me to Pink's, and just, thanks, Dennis, for rescuing me all those times. And I was always at the Wilsons. I was an only child, and he was my brother, and the Wilsons were my brothers, and I, like all of us, I really miss Dennis and Carl. And because, I don't know, that was the best part of my life right there, during those early Beach Boy days. And, well, it's just good to be here and to see everybody here. And that's it. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Dave.
Let's have Ginger come up and say something too, because I just want to hug her.
Yeah. That's why he left Nadia home.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Well, it's kind of a telltale story. Diane and I used to. I dated Gary Usher. I'm sure you know the whole story about Gary Usher if you know anything about Beach Boys and the Honeys. I met Gary Usher when I was recording for a label called Titan Records, and Gary and I recorded together and became more than just friends. And Gary told me about this wonderful group called the Beach Boys that was playing at Pandora's Box. Hence, we went over to Pandora's Box, Gary and I saw the group, fell in love with the group, knew the reason why we made the connection, the brothers, the cousin. My cousins and I sang together, Diane and Marilyn. So we made a connection with Brian, but Gary was rooming with Dennis. And Diane had a wonderful infatuation with Dennis. And I'm being diplomatic, dear. And Marilyn was always, we used to tuck her in the car. We'd take her every place with us, but we'd tuck her in the car. And we came up to the house, and Gary and Dennis were there with, other girls. And I was not happy with Gary, and Diane was not happy with Dennis. So we had to just figure out a way to get even. So I took some black pepper, and of course Dee Dee went along with it. Marilyn was very innocent, and I put black pepper in their beer and their ice cream. And the next morning I got this call. They were choking and gagging all night, throwing up all night long. So we got our revenge.
Ooh, yeah.
That's part of the wildlife.
All right, I want to bring Garby Leon up here. Garby is a good friend of Dennis's. He wrote music with Dennis and Brian, and he can give us a little perspective on Dennis, too.
Hey, thanks. Hi, everybody. This is really an emotional experience for me. Dennis was a very close friend of mine for the last 4 years of his life. He used to come over to my place in Venice, California on Horizon Avenue, where I had some musical instruments and some tapes, and he and Brian and I and some other musicians would just sort of play music and record and do a bunch of things that I really can't talk about in public as well. And these were really beautiful human beings, pure, innocent souls, and very great artists. And it's important that we honor their music and their lives and celebrate them. We're so lucky. A lot of very funny things, a lot of funny stories about Dennis. I'd love to tell a joke or two because he was really one of the funniest people I ever met, among other things. But he used to go up to Mike Love and he would say, Mike, what's the Italian word for enema? And of course, Mike would be caught completely short, and Dennis would say, innuendo. And then he'd say, Mike, what's another word for weather? And Mike would look at him, he's nonplussed. Dennis would say, climate. Whenever Dennis would see Mike Love after a long absence, probably enjoyed by both, he would always say things like, hey Mike, you put on weight. And of course, Dennis, who was always in perfect shape right to the last day of his life, the body of an acrobat, an athlete, would always put Mike a little bit off his game with that stuff. But that was the fun part of that rivalry. But I just want to say also about Dennis that I had a lucid dream about him 2 nights ago on his birthday, and I felt that I had him in my life again. When he died, he was actually staying in my apartment and then went over to the marina to stay because I had a friend house sitting, and Dennis was really a very private person, and he felt very at home in my place, but so he just wanted to be, on his own, do his own thing for a while. And it was distressing for me because I got the news on television from my parents' house in Ann Arbor and saw Dennis's picture with the black border, and it was very unbelievable because he was such a powerful life force that you never could imagine him kind of not being there. So I'm glad his music is all around. Let's celebrate that. Let's remix Pacific Ocean Blue because that's really what he himself. Let's bring out the Bamboo album. Let's honor what we have, which is the music. And anyway, that's about all I want to say. But thanks very much, and I love you all, and it's great to be here.
Great. Oh, John.
I think we need to have you come up and give us a word again, just to keep this going, because this is a nice spiritual thing happening, and you're a highly spiritual person, and I'm sure you can find the right time.
That video was sort of what I wanted to say. Primarily, it was, I was living on Horizon myself when I was watching TV, and there was this documentary on Errol Flynn, and it reminded me of Dennis. You get those shots of Errol on the boat, and it's like, God, does he remind me of Dennis? And then there's a news bulletin, and this guy, I think it was Paul Dandridge from LA, made the announcement about Dennis, and I was inconsolable, let's put it that way. I couldn't believe it, especially he was so close, Horizon is just a few blocks away. And my sister came over and tried to console me. I mean, it was bad, And I went down to the beach where my sister was living right here in Santa Monica, and there's this line in the song that I wrote, now you're just the brightest star in the sky. And I know you've heard the Elton John song that was written for Lady Di, and there was a line in it about the star in the sky. But then I want you to know that I didn't, pinch that. The reason why I used that was because the night that Dennis died, I went down to the beach and looked up at the sky, and there was this brightest star, and I thought that's got to be Dennis, And it was very tough, probably the toughest thing. I know you all associate me with Carl and being Carl's brother-in-law and all, but I was very close to Dennis. In fact, it was kind of like a 1-2 punch when I lost my dad, because my dad died in Dennis's arms at UCLA. Dennis was the only person with him at the time. It was quite late at night, and there was always been this special connection with my dad and Dennis, and so to lose Pop, and then in '76, and then to lose Dennis, it was just like, it was just too much, and it was the most difficult thing. I mean, with Carl, Carl was sick, and, there's no way to prepare for it, but with Dennis, it was just so instant, and it was over, and it was the most difficult loss I think I've ever suffered, and I've had a lot of friends go, Dino, and, just a lot of people in my life, but Dennis's was particularly hurtful, to this day. So, but I don't want to get maudlin or anything, but I'm so happy that I was able to be here. I was, stuck back in New England, and I was thinking, and I really blew up my itinerary. I was supposed to fly from Las Vegas, where I live, to do this show in Connecticut, and then fly right back. My travel day was this day, so what I did was I had my itinerary changed, and I drove to LA so I could fly out of LA, so I could be here with you guys. I was had visions of calling, and we'll put me on the phone to John and tell him I can't make it. But I'm really happy that I was able to be here, and there's so many great people, and Eddie and all these people that I haven't seen in a long time. It's so great. And what I'd like to do is, for people that aren't so famous but who knew Dennis, I'd like to open the microphone up to them. I know Mara knew Dennis, and Suzanne here was a friend, and so I'd just like to open it up to anybody else who would like to say something about our brother Dennis. All right?
Hi, everybody. I too knew Dennis I would say the last 5 years of his life, and forgive me to my husband, but I was living with a boyfriend of mine in the late 70s and early 80s, and he flew with Dennis a couple times as his bodyguard. And I had only met Dennis for the very first time backstage, although I had known Carl for years and so on before that. And we were backstage after one concert, and it was somewhere in LA. And Dennis came up and he looked at me and he says, "Oh, I remember you." And then he saw my boyfriend and he said, "What are you doing with Tom?" And I said, "Well, we just met up and we're together. We live together now." And he says, "Oh, well, I'll come over later and come see you at your house." And we lived on Washington Street in the Marina. And I looked at my boyfriend and I said, "No, he's not really going to come over to our house." And he goes, "If he says he will, he will." So he did at about 1:30 in the morning. And just to show you what kind of heart this man had. I mean, I barely knew him then, barely knew him at all. I had met him like twice. Came over, and of course he wanted to, have a couple drinks, and we did, and we stayed up late, and I'm still like in shock, like he's sitting in my living room like this and just being a wonderful man. And then he looked at Tom and said, "Tom, I need you to fly with me and just be by my side and help me be strong." And they were going off to Vegas and Park City, and they left, and the limo took him to a helicopter that took him over to fly over to, I think it was Park City first, and then to Vegas. And I'm at home cleaning the house, not believing the next morning any of this happened, and I get a phone call. And it's Dennis, and his voice at that point had gotten kind of, husky and and he said, "Mama?" And I said, "Yeah?" I knew who it was, and he says, "I think this is pretty crummy that you're sitting there by yourself at home. So you go to the airport and you just go up there and give them your name, and you have a ticket to Salt Lake City. And when you get there, whatever you do, don't tell them the Beach Boys or Dennis Wilson. Just call for Brother Records, and a limo will come and pick you up." And that's exactly what happened. And I cannot believe it. And from then on, I flew with them to 2 or 3 other sites, and he was just one of the most giving, loving people I've ever met to this day. That's my mom.
I have been a Beach Boy fan since I was about 3, and I grew up in Detroit. And when I was 14, my best friend and my sister and a bunch of us went to a concert in the snow, and we worked our way backstage and we met Dennis. And of course we all loved him, and we loved the Beach Boys, and there was a snowstorm, and we were very young, and somehow we stayed in touch with Dennis, and he said, "Girls, anytime you want, come, you can stay on my boat." Well, he didn't know that my dad worked for American Airlines, and so somehow we convinced our parents of how great this would be, and we could fly for free. And the next thing you know, we called him up, and I called him on the Harmony, and he said, "Girls, no problem." And we spent our Easter vacation, that was the first of many. My best friend Becky, my older sister Sheila, my parents said, "Well, as long as your older sister goes," she was like 18. But anyway, he was a perfect gentleman, and truly he was, and he just really enjoyed showing us California, because we were these hicks from the Midwest, and he was so kind, and he continued, that was an open invitation. We visited him for our Easter vacations, and he was incredibly generous and incredibly kind, and just God bless you, Dennis Wilson. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I got something for everybody here that saw Billy's beautiful film and heard his beautiful song. These are lyric sheets for Billy's song "One in a Million," and there's one for everybody here. I'm going to have Billy sign mine. So anyway, you guys want to come up, just grab one out of the box, or I'll just kind of... I think we're going to get Alan Boyd back up here to lead us in a sing-along.
You are the best. I was going to ask you to do that for me. Oh, you didn't get one?
Ah, see?
Look at you. Smile. Say goodbye.